Hi, I'm Charisse.
And I'm Holly. Thanks for tuning in to Ask Mom.
And today we're going to be talking about grief.
So we have a lot of heavy topics coming to you. The last few videos have been kind of heavy. I think we've just had a lot of emails from girls that are really struggling with things. And so one of the topics is, you know, you're grieving something. Over the holidays, we lost our dog Nacho. He's been on a few of our videos. And everybody was saying goodbye at Christmas, and he ran out the door and just, you know, between our legs as the door was open, and was hit by a car. And it was devastating.
Devastating.
For all of us, even for Charisse's dog, who's his best friend. You know, it's just been hard watching him even be so sad over it. And so you think, you lose a pet and how devastating that is. Imagine you're losing your friend, you know, which Charisse just had happen last night. She lost a friend. And so you're going to go through things in your life where you're going to have to learn how to walk through grief. And one of the things is that people are just like, sometimes they gloss over things a little bit too quickly, and they'll be like, oh, you're still crying about that? Or you're still sad about that? And the truth is, you need to be sad till you're just not anymore.
I think the hardest thing about comforting somebody in their grief is if you haven't experienced that grief.
Yeah.
So until I experienced the grief of even my stepfather passing away, I didn't really know what it was like to have somebody that close to pass away. And so once that does happen, you're able to empathize with somebody that has that loss.
And that's why sometimes people do it really poorly. Is shake it off when someone does it really badly. When someone tries to respond to your pain and does it badly, you just got to go, they just don't get it, and I just need to let that go. And then when someone's really good, just soak it all in. You know, when someone just calls and just sits there on the phone and just listens to you, or they, you know, drop something off at your front door because they just want you to know you're being thought of. I mean, we got cards for 2 weeks, and emails and flowers and pictures of our dog, and, you know, and all of those things. It was like, even though I cried every time I got one of those things, it's just knowing that other people are remembering with you and sad with you that just somehow makes it better. It just does. And so you're not going to be able to step over whatever the grief is in your life, and you're going to have to walk through it. You're just gonna. So the sooner you surrender to the fact that you're going to have to be sad and cry and be angry, and why did they do that? Why did they make that choice? Or how could God take them from me? You know, all the things that everybody on the planet,
it's a process you go through.
Goes through their mind. It's just normal. And you're gonna think of regrets. You're gonna think, oh my gosh, but I didn't whatever before they died. I didn't say I was sorry, or I left them on bad terms, or, you know, I wasn't there to be with them in the moment. You know, whatever it is, you're just going to have to say, the years of love and the years of attention and the years that I gave spoke for how my heart felt. And so I need to forgive myself. Okay, this isn't a place I need to go. I need to just drop that and leave that and know it's okay. You know, in the end, they knew how they were loved.
Right. Definitely.
And so some things that can help when you're sad, you can cry.
You can cry.
Crying actually really helps a lot, even though sometimes you feel like, I'm never going to be able to stop. You will.
Yeah.
And then you'll feel better, and then you'll feel worse again, and then you'll feel better, and then you'll notice every little thing triggers it. Another little puppy runs by and you cry your eyes out, or someone walks by and they walk just like your dad did, or, you know, you get a glimpse of somebody and it looks just like your mom or your grandma or whatever. You know, it's okay. That's all a part of you being able to accept it and then let it go. Right. And not let it go, get over it. No. Let it go, grieve it.
Right.
And grieving is a long process. And, you know, in other countries, people are given a lot more time to grieve. In America, you're supposed to pick it back up, get right back to school, go to work, let's move on. Oh, get busy, and that'll make it better.
Yeah. Carry on.
But in other countries, they might take weeks. And
months, a whole year.
Oh, yeah.
Years, yeah.
And that's expected to be normal. You loved that person or that thing or that relationship you lost, or, you know, whatever it is, or the divorce, grieving your parents divorcing. I mean, that's huge. And that can take forever because you're facing it week after week after week, separated, and holidays apart, and all of these things, accepting whatever your new normal is going to be. That's a grieving process.
And faith. I think faith is the hugest thing that I think helps you get through any kind of grief. And to know that there's something, that there's a plan, and even that it's not what you would have made up, but just to know there's something better. There's just something better. I mean, what a blessing that is.
It is. I think sometimes finding your own way to remember. Sometimes funerals don't help a person who's grieving. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it's really wonderful for them, but sometimes you need to just think about, how do I want to honor their life? And there might be something, whether you create some kind of stone of remembrance and you keep it in your yard, or you decide, I'm going to do a whole photo album of their life, and that's something I'm just going to keep and I'm going to write all the things I cared about that person or that thing or that relationship. I'm going to write all about it, and I'm going to keep it as something I remember. Or have your own private ceremony in your room. Sit there with all the things that remind you of them and that you love, and be able to say goodbye in your own way. It's really cathartic to have those experiences.
And I think if somebody else is grieving, maybe it didn't happen to you, but a friend of yours is going through a grief, I think a great way to help them through it is, if you knew the person that they're grieving, is to just say some really great memories that you have of that person that they're grieving. Because just to say, oh, I'm sorry about your loss, even though that's a great thing to say, but if you knew the person just a little bit, to say, oh, I remember this that they did. I mean, it just touches them so much more, because it makes it real, and that the person touched your life is a really big impact on the person that's grieving. Really helpful.
I think so too. People want to know that their loved ones meant something to someone else. I remember when it's always hard to talk about these things without crying, so if I cry, forgive me. But when my dad died, I remember thinking, my world is totally different today. I now live in a world that is totally different. And I'd look outside, I'd see other people going about their lives and think, how could it just be any other day to them? And to me, it's like the worst day.
That's exactly how I felt.
Yeah. And so you want to believe that the person you loved meant something to other people. I wanted to believe that even just about my pet.
Right.
Just about my pet. I wanted to believe that they weren't just precious to me, but they were precious to the whole world, And so that's why cards made a difference. That's why if you feel bad because you realized a friend's going through something like this and you never called her and you never wrote her and it's 3 months later, still call her and write her, because she's still thinking every day about that person that she loves. And so sometimes another thing is people respond a lot in the first couple of weeks, but then never talk about it again or never say anything because they're worried they're going to make you sad. And so, don't be shy about saying something to someone. Say, are you still, are you okay? Are you feeling a little better? How are you coping? Is it still really hard? And allowing them to be able to feel like it's okay for it to still be hard if it is. And if they're like, I'm really feeling so much better, just don't say, oh, I'm so surprised you're feeling so much better. Oh my gosh, what a gift. What a gift that your heart is starting to heal. That's wonderful, because feeling better doesn't mean you've forgotten what happened. And that's something sometimes we feel really guilty about. If we start to feel better, or we start to laugh, or we start to experience joy again in our life, we feel like it's easy to go to a place where you feel like that maybe that person really didn't mean that much to me, or I've been able to move on so fast, so easily, so quickly. And the truth is sometimes your heart just begins to heal, and that's just normal. And all of the memories of that person get put into the right happy places in your life, and then they're still a part of you, right? It hasn't gone away because you're not crying all the time or sad all the time. They're still very much a part of your life and always will be. You're never going to forget those people that really touch you like that. So we hope that this gives you some good ideas about how to deal with grief and start to accept healing and acceptance and all of those things. But it's at your pace. You have the right to let it take as long as you need to let it take, assuming that it's not taking over your life in a really negative way where you're not able to function. 2 or 3 months from now, you're still not able to function. Then it might be a good idea to get some help. Or even sooner, if you think that it would really help just to have someone to talk to. But anyway, I'm Holly.
I'm Charisse.
And we hope this helps you today with your grief.